Hi, I'm Jennifer Taylor and I'm a self-taught seamstress from West Bromwich, and today I'm going to be showing you the perfect beginners project if we get you all upcycling. So what you're going to need for this project is a pair of fabric scissors. You're going to need a ball of wool or thread or whatever you have, but it needs to be quite strong, so I'm using just some leftover wool from a project that I did the other day. And you're going to need whatever you've got going on at home. So I've got shirts here, I've got t-shirts, I've got denim, I've got bed sheets, whatever. Fabric is fabric, and we're going to be using all of it today. So there's one thing I haven't mentioned. Yes, this is right, it's a hula hoop, and we're going to be using it today. So we're going to be making a rug, or in this case I'm going to be making a seat cover using a hula hoop, and it's basically going to be a rose rug seat cover. So this is what it looks like. I actually thought about this when I was doing a flower demonstration from old scraps of fabric, and it was to make a fabric rose, but I thought I'd take that further step and making a cushion. Now this is all out of rags, there's no stuffing in here, but look how thick it is. It's so comfortable. So if you have a horrible wooden stool over there, then this is a perfect little gift to get rid of all of those scraps of fabric. So this is our rose rug cushion that we're going to be making today. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to get your hula hoop. Now I've already threaded mine, if you like, but it's very, very simple. So let's get some space. So what you're going to want to do, you want to create a kind of cobweb, if you like, with your hula hoop. So your hula hoop is your frame for your rug if you want to go big size, or for your cushion if you want to go small size, which is what we're doing today. And at the moment I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pieces of string here. Now that's an even number, so it is nicer to actually go uneven, so then you get a nice weave. So even though these are just straight across, I'm going to do a half weave by taking my cotton, or wool should I say, pressing it through. So I'm just basically looping it from the centre and going to the edge of my hoop. So this is going to be the basis of our sort of weave, if you like. So I'm just going to pop a little knot in there so it keeps it in the centre. And I'm just going to tie it to the edges. So all I've done is literally wrapped my hoop, that's it. So now we're going to get on with the fabric. So let's just pop that to one side for a second. So I'm going to take, this shirt I've already pre-prepared. So I've cut out the sleeves. This is just the back of the shirt here, and I'm going to show you how to make nice long lengths of fabric that you can then weave into your hoop without having to sort of stitch them all together. It's a really simple technique, but instead of cutting all the way through the fabric like so, what you're actually going to be doing is leaving a gap. So you can see here that I've got about 1 inch from the edge of my fabric. I don't want you to go any further than that, okay? And then you're going to make another split. But this time you're going to go sort of 2 inches across, so bigger than you actually need. So I'm just going to make a few cuts. It doesn't have to be perfect. You've got a 1 inch strip that you haven't cut to the end, and then you've got 2 inch sort of cuts, if you like, because we're just going to rip it. Why spend life cutting fabric when you can just rip it? So there you go. So again, the same principle, I'm not ripping down to the edge, I'm leaving about 1 inch at the bottom, and I'm going to keep ripping all of those little marks that I've just done. Okay, so now I'm going to the bit that I haven't ripped, like so, and I'm going to repeat the process again, this time going in between, you see? So it's almost like you're making M's or Z's, if you like. And you're just going to repeat that until you finish. So let me just quickly rip that bit. And again, just make a little incision there. I think this is a great stress buster. If you're having a bad day at work, just cutting up men's shirts. I'm not a bunny boiler, honestly. And then my husband knows me well enough now that no shirt is safe in our house. So now you will see, out of that small piece of material, we've got all of this. All of this. So that, imagine how much material you've got in there just from one piece of a back of a shirt. This is what we've got. So that's the first point. So now you've got your rags. You can have lots of selections. So I've got some green here, I've got some red, I've got some floral bits already ragged. So the first step that you're going to want to do is almost create a sort of lock, if you like. So getting the end of your fabric, what you want to do is make a small incision to make like a hole, almost like a buttonhole, like so. And what you're going to do is wrap that into the middle of your spider web, and you're going to feed this fabric through that hole. Okay, so there you go. So you can see that's almost self-locking itself in the middle of that spider web. So just to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to get to the end of my length of rag and just wrap it around my hand so it creates like a ball, because you're going to be passing this ball through all of the weaves. So there we go. So what you're going to want to do, if I do this slowly for you, you're going to want to go under and over, under and over, under and over, under and over. So that's it, you've gone round once. So you can see that's starting to rose up in the middle. So obviously this is a really nice light fabric, so it will all bunch up lovely. But if you use something like this, which is what I did for the old project behind me, it's quite a strong, structured fabric. So it almost gives you like these petal-like look. So where these folds are, it's almost creating like a rose petal, which is where I got the inspiration for the fabric brooch. So this is why I'm calling it a rose cushion, because I think it reminds me of rose petals. So you're basically repeating that process. So again, I'll just walk you through it. So you might want to give these a little bit of a pull so that you don't see the coloured thread that I'm using for the basis of my weave. So if I just keep repeating that until we get to a position where you might want to change colour, change fabric, and I'll show you how you can attach that fabric to the new fabric. Okay, so I've come to the end of my piece of rag, so you can see it's really starting to take shape now, but I want to add a different colour. So again, similar to what we did at the very beginning, you're going to take your scissors and just make a small cut. Again, sort of giving you that kind of buttonhole, if you like. And you're going to do the same again on your other fabric. So again, I'm just going to make a small cut in. So you've got 2 buttonholes, and you're going to be feeding that through here. But then you're going to feed the rest of that material through that hole. So you're basically repeating what you did at the very beginning, but you're just linking the 2 pieces of fabric together. There's another thing that I wanted to show you, especially if you're going to be making on a bigger scale, like an actual rug rather than a cushion. If you notice on here, the petals are starting to get quite big. Now that's fine, but the bigger you go, then they're going to be really big, and I don't want that. So you're going to need to add some more looms, if you like, to your spider web. But I just want to show you how to add additional lengths to your loom. So again, you're going to take your thread, just get a rough measurement, that'll do. Now again, we want to make this an odd number, so you're going to need to add 2 to this, because we're already at, I think it was 9. So if we add 1, it's going to be 10, and it's going to make it even. We don't want that. So make sure you add 2 on this section. So you might want to just have a look and see where is it not sitting quite nicely. So I'm going to add 1 in here. So basically what you're doing is creating a loop. So you've got your 2 ends together there, and you've got your loop. You're going to feed your loop through the material and take those ends and feed it back through. So it's almost like a bit of a slip knot, I suppose. And then you're going to be tying these raw edges here to the edge of your loop. So there's 1. So don't worry that this has come loose, because I can just adjust the... So again, you're just popping that loop in between your layers, doing like a slip knot. Again, just making sure that it's taut but not too tight. You don't want to be pulling your weave too tightly on this. So now I've added some extra strands. You might want to just make this look a little bit more even, so just do some manipulation before you start. So now you're back where you were before. So again, take the length of your rag, you're going to wrap it around your hand so it creates like a ball. So now we've got the ball. So again, we're just going to repeat the process. So again, so we can see we've gone under here, so we need to go over. So I'm basically just going to be repeating the process again and again until I get the size that we want. Again, feel free to cut up whatever you've got, t-shirts, jeans, yes man shirts, but please ask permission before you do so. I don't want hate mail. Nothing is safe, basically. As long as it's material, you can use it in this project. Okay, so I've gone round several times now. So the beauty of this project is you can make it as big or as small as you like. So I'm not going to go any bigger than this because I'm just repeating, and you know how to do it by now. So you're just going in and out, weaving until you've got the size that you want. So now you're ready with and happy with the size, you're going to need a pin. Just to keep this tail end in place while you do the next section. So I'm just going to pop a pin in there, just keeping that in place like so. Right, now we're ready to cut our cobweb, if you like, to make our rug. So I'm just going to cut these off one at a time. And what I want you to do is actually thread them back on themselves, so you're almost like looping them over, and then you go around the thread to create a knot. So you're just basically knotting these pieces of thread to keep all of your rags contained. So you can see there's one tied off, and then you're going to poke that to the back, because we're going to actually cover the back of our cover anyway. So this is the front. So obviously you can see little bits of red poking through there, but then you can always manipulate the folds so you don't see them anymore. But we're actually going to be covering ours, so you won't see any of the threads in the back anyway. So that's the next step, but I've just got to go round this and just tie them all off. So again, I'm just going to repeat that process for you so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see that I've, this is the right side. So I'm just tipping it around the wrong side. So I've got all these loose threads here. So what I did with my project, I basically tied all of these together, so there's still a little bit of length on it. Just helps keep the shape of the cushion. So there we go. There's our little cushion so far. So all we're going to be doing is where the pin is here, we're going to be taking that out and placing this to the back of our rug where all the ties are there. And we're just going to be stitching that into place. So that's that bit done. So the next section is just making the kind of lining for the back of your pillow. So I'm just using whatever comes to hand. I think again this might be another shirt that I've pre-cut up. And you're going to be basically drawing round your cushion. So if you imagine that's your shape there, but you're going to need to add a little bit of a seam allowance. So I'm just going to use my 2 fingers and just make marks around, just to give me a rough idea. Perfect. Okay, so taking our cushion, you're going to be placing this on the back like so, but you need to be folding it over. So this is where you might want to bring your pins and just basically start pinning that into place, folding over the allowance that we gave with the 2 finger spacing, so you can see that. So I'm coming up to the last sort of section now. Okay. So there we go, there's the base of our cushion, there's the front. And what you would need to do now is just sew that together. So I would use a ladder stitch. This is really nice for, a ladder stitch is something that you would use so you don't see the stitching. So I'm just going to go in through the fold there, like so. And I'm just basically going to be meeting the actual cushion and then going through the fold that I've created on that lining. The reason why it's called a ladder stitch is because that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like the rungs on a ladder. So yeah, I'm just doing a quick ladder stitch, going all the way around, but you can see as I'm doing this, they're just, as I'm pulling my thread, they're starting to disappear. That's what you want. You don't want to be seeing these stitches. Let me just put that there. You've got a perfect rose rag cushion.